If you asked someone to describe Poseidon in one line, two things would probably come to mind right away. He is the god of the sea, and he has a terrible temper. But why does Poseidon in Greek mythology lash out so often and stir up so much conflict? Is he just the bad guy of the story? Today, let's take a closer look at the true emotions behind one of Greek mythology's most unlucky icons, Poseidon. In Greek myth, Poseidon is one of the most powerful of the 12 Olympians. Zeus rules the sky, Hades rules the underworld, and Poseidon rules the sea. So why is he so often angry? The first reason is the nature of his domain itself. The sea is unpredictable. One moment it is calm, and the next it can erupt into storms and earthquakes. Poseidon's personality seems to reflect that same dual nature. In myth, he can bring abundance to humans, but he is also a source of fear. But the deeper reason may be something else. In many of these stories, Poseidon often feels like the overlooked one among the Olympian gods. Yes, one of the strongest gods in the pantheon, often comes across like an outsider. Even in the Trojan War myths, Poseidon supports the Greeks. Yet the spotlight falls on human heroes like Achilles and Hector. Again and again, the stories show him being overshadowed by Zeus, outplayed by Athena, and in some cases even embarrassed by mortals. The most famous example is his contest with Athena for Athens. Poseidon strikes the ground with his trident, and brings forth seawater, hoping to offer the better gift. Then Athena offers the olive tree, and the people choose her immediately. The seawater is salty and not much use for daily life, while the olive tree gives food and oil. It was the practical choice, but for Poseidon, it was also a major humiliation. He showed his power, and still did not get the recognition he wanted. The same pattern appears in the myths surrounding Troy. Poseidon and Apollo are said to have helped build the walls of Troy. But King Laomedon refuses to pay what he promised. In anger, Poseidon sends a sea monster to terrorize the city. And that episode becomes one of the many stories tied to Troy's downfall. But even when Poseidon seems to get revenge, the result still feels messy and unsatisfying. That is what makes his anger interesting. It is not just about a bad personality. It can also be read as the response of someone pushed aside in a world built on power and status. On Olympus, Zeus holds ultimate authority. Athena earns respect through wisdom and strategy. Apollo wins admiration through art, prophecy, and light. But Poseidon never seems fully at home anywhere. In these myths, he spends much of his time in the depths of the sea, isolated from the others. And that loneliness seems to harden him. Even his own children often become part of stories where someone else gets the glory. The Cyclops are linked to Poseidon, but in the Odyssey, the hero is Odysseus, the man who defeats one of them and escapes. After Odysseus blinds the Cyclops and sails away, Poseidon fills the sea with storms to punish him. That episode helped shape Poseidon's image as a vengeful and frightening god. But if you look at it another way, he is also reacting like a father whose child has been harmed. The idea that Poseidon has a foul temper also reflects how the ancient Greeks viewed the sea itself. They feared it. The Mediterranean could be violent and dangerous, and sailing was never safe. So people prayed to Poseidon and built temples for him. But they also projected the sea's violence and unpredictability onto his character. In that sense, Poseidon's rough personality says just as much about human fear as it does about the god himself. And Poseidon is not always portrayed as a dark or destructive figure. In myth, he is connected not only with earthquakes and the sea, but also with horses, harbors, and safe travel across the water. In cities like Corinth, he was deeply honored. The problem is that his darker side makes for better drama. So that is the side the myths tend to highlight. What is especially interesting is that many of Poseidon's revenge stories begin not with random cruelty, but with betrayal, disrespect, or broken promises. Take the myth of King Minos. Minos prays to Poseidon for a magnificent bull from the sea, and promises to sacrifice it in return. Poseidon grants the request, But when Minos sees how beautiful the bull is, he keeps it and offers a different one instead. Poseidon becomes furious, and the myth says he causes Minos' wife, Pasiphae, to desire the bull, which leads to the birth of the Minotaur. It is a cruel story, no question. But the betrayal begins with Minos breaking his word. The way many people picture Poseidon today also owes a lot to Homer. In the Iliad and the Odyssey, Poseidon stands as one of Odysseus's greatest enemies. If Odysseus is the clever hero of the Trojan War cycle, then Poseidon becomes the force standing in his way. In that kind of story, the smart and resourceful human naturally draws the audience in, and Poseidon gets pushed into the role of the angry villain. Even so, there is a case for seeing him a little differently. In many of these myths, he is not simply evil. He is trying to protect his pride, his family, and his place in the world. What is even more interesting is how later pop culture often makes him look worse. In many modern retellings, Poseidon barely gets much depth at all. He is either hidden in Zeus's shadow or reduced to the god who is always mad. But maybe that is exactly why he feels so tragic. He is powerful, but never fully central. Feared, but not loved. Surrounded by other gods, yet strangely alone. In the end, Poseidon's bad temper may come down to one simple idea. He is incredibly powerful, but also deeply lonely. In myth, he rules the sea, yet on Olympus he is still second to Zeus. To humans, he is often a figure of fear, and in the deep waters of his own realm, he is separated from everyone else. A god like that was never going to come across as warm and easygoing. So the next time you hear a story about Poseidon, maybe do not think of him as just the cruel god of the sea. Maybe think of him instead as a proud and lonely figure. Someone so powerful that no one could ignore him, yet so isolated that no one ever truly understood him.